From the lush green lands to the cascading waterfalls, wonders of the world, the oldest habitat of territories on Earth, a rich cultural heritage, a continent of 1.1 billion people, second largest and most populous, a continent pregnant with possibilities, home to 30% of Earth's mineral resources, 50% of its people under 25 years. Africa, the land of the great. Our spirit, resilient. Our enterprise, profitable. Our future, inspiring. Africa is inspiring. Be inspired.
In most instances, people hear about these things they call growth without development and development without growth. What's the missing link? It's actually the plan. It's actually a structure, and where did we miss it as a country? I think that what had happened to us as a country was that in taking over the politics or getting political independence, we didn't really take time to also now review the infrastructure that operated the economics, that was being driven by the imperial masters or the post-independence structures. And it's left us with a lot of market infrastructure. It's left us with a lot of, infrastructure that has not deepened, what you can call demand-driven, result-oriented infrastructure programs and human capital development. I think that what had happened is that we've had, issues in this country will be more focused on, developing the administrative officers than developing the skilled, people, developing probably governance, fiscal infrastructure without necessarily developing our human capital. So I think it's time we go back, to first and foremost, understanding what had brought even the people, who colonized us in the first place. Was it because they loved us, or was it because we had, stuff that they needed? I think it was more because we had stuff that they needed than they loved us. And those stuff that they needed are still there. We have a clement weather for agriculture. We have all the natural resources known to man. And against the fact that we have little or no, natural disasters. What I think we need to do is that we must be able to in place a program that should turn our human resources into human capital. We must be able to develop skills that can be able to be adapted to, now value processing and numerous, natural resources potentials. We must be able to remove them, from potentials and then turn them into not only just resources, but products that can be applied, first into our national development, second into our fiscal infrastructure development, and third into probably making us, a net exporter of not only commodities, but products that are properly, value processed. I think this is very, very important. I think this is the way to go. And in also doing that, I think that we must begin to look at, Africa as a common unit. We must begin to look at Africa without borders. And in doing Africa without borders, we are not just going to be doing the political Africa. We must also begin to in place, programs that could help us, reconcile the very varying, political structures that has lowered, our positions in what you could call the politics of international economic relations. And I think one way of doing this is first and most importantly to begin to now develop common shared policies that can in place common shared infrastructure across Africa. Because first and most importantly, the borders of Africa now, hitherto, they have always been there, have always had these borders, or have operated in small tribal units that interfaced with each other and intermingled with each other. But what had happened was that the defined borders we have now can be dismantled also when we now have the proper policies that can tie our national resources, our natural resources, our human capital to common shared, human capital development programs and common shared, infrastructure that can begin to now ramp up probably what you can call the volume for value. What do I mean volume for value? We're able to now probably, kickstart a program that now returns or in places what you might call the best. The Great Green Wall is a good program. If we also could be able to, support the Great Green Wall, which is running, I understand, across 16 African countries, with also cash crops, okay, with also food crops, with also industrial belt, with also power programs, I think Africa will all be better for it, and that might be the beginning of actually tearing down, these synthetic borders, if you may, or political worlds, okay, that seems to be polarizing us, the more. So I think for me, for the youths of Nigeria, first and most importantly, we must believe in our country. Okay, nobody's going to solve this problem for us. We must get innovative. We must begin to think outside the box. And most importantly, we must develop an ideology that Nigeria is our country. That is the primary and best ideology that anybody can in place. And whatever goes wrong, I mean, we weren't created perfect. Okay, we must have issues in Nigeria. I think what is lacking is that amongst the youths, there must be a meeting point where, when conflict arises, there must be conflict resolution mechanisms, that must be in place that can be able to resolve this conflict. This is my charge to Nigerians.